is to plant a good cover crop, and especially in the cool months, get Douglas King seed, get one of the vetches, get Austrian winter peas, get any kind of legume that you can, and just leave it on the surface of the ground as a green manure. Be sure you inoculate your legume. Then you've got bacteria in the soil that are taking nitrogen from the air and converting it into a form that more microbes are going to use. And I think for probably, gosh, 3 or 4 years growing a cover crop, you'll increase your organic content probably by at least 0.5% per year.
Clover will work?
Clover is fine. Clover is fine.
I plant 20 acres in Urana, white clover this year.
Yeah.
And I just spent 6 hours with Gene Solick on Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
Sure.
For a little field day that he did for some Texas A&M class.
HR and things.
And it's amazing what he's done, and his is all clover based.
Yeah. And he's in a little bit higher rain belt
Right.
than most of us are. But yeah, that man runs 1 cow per acre or something like that. And fascinating
And
guy.
he told me he made $750 per acre this past year.
Yeah.
Can I use agriculture molasses, or do I use table grade in my?
Whatever's
You
cheapest.
can afford it, but it's a lot cheaper to
Well,
get
I
ag.
was told not to use that.
By somebody wanting to sell you table molasses?
Well, no, I think my son-in-law came up with this, that we use Spain table molasses instead of what they sell at the nursery. Can I go back to that?
Go back to the cheapest
So
molasses
it's
you
gonna be a
can
lot more
find.
money, I'm gonna guess, but
Yeah.
it's certainly okay.
Well, I lifted the lid.
I tell you the only thing yeah, you can eat and spread it at the same time. But I'll tell you one thing you do have to be careful of, and I learned this, Bob and I discussed it. At the end of the season, for several years, I was buying the deer molasses. When they're left at these big box stores, they sell them to you for $1 a gallon. It's full of fungicide. You want to read that thing and make sure they haven't put a fungicide in the molasses to stunt the growth of fungus and molds. So be sure you don't have that in your molasses. Other than that, any of it will do.
Talking to Stuart Monday or Tuesday down in Hongo, but I didn't ask him this. Does this compost tea take any place of soil activator or not?
Couple of things. Compost tea, what you get out of compost tea is life. You're getting the microbes. Medina Plus doesn't have, or soil activator, this is your soil activator with seaweed added to it, doesn't have any life in it, but it's full of things that stimulate the life. The two of them in combination would be a great thing to do.
That's what I'm using.
But, yeah.
Bob?
What color is Medina Plus? It varies. It depends on exactly, how stinky the stuff that he put into it was. I've seen it come out light brown. I've seen it come out almost clear.
I have to.
But it varies in color. So, okay, I'll tell him to.
Add a teaspoon of molasses.
Yeah, it'll make it even better, by the way. Yeah.
How about the dry molasses in the bag? For a yard, I'm just talking about a yard.
To put on your yard, excellent stuff. Outstanding stuff if you can afford it. Dry molasses, of course, is not crystalline molasses. Some people think I'm going to take dry molasses and dissolve it. The guy that sold me my Continental Belton sprayer dumped 200 pounds of dry molasses into his own sprayer and took him 4 days of constant work to get it unclogged after he got through with it. Dry molasses does not dissolve. Dry molasses is either chopped up cane or soy or something like that that's had molasses sprayed on it. So don't try to dissolve it, but you can put it on dry onto a yard, and it's a very good thing to do. Once again,
Howard says it's synergistic. It's on a lot of organic material like rice hulls or wheat whey, and he actually is convinced himself, at least, that you get more bang for your buck with dry. I personally think pure liquid molasses, if you can handle it properly, is going to give you way more bang for your dollar.
Yeah, I think Howard's getting kickback or something on that.
Yeah, he was telling me that, but I saw his picture on the bag.
So where do you buy the liquid molasses? At a feed store?
At a feed store is by far the least expensive way. Now, most of the nurseries have it, but they got to charge more because they're not buying 5,000 gallons at a time. See,
And
most of it-
if you find a feed store that is formulating their own feed, this is not some guy that just set up a shingle and started selling full of pet feed. It's a big feed store. It's a who are the guys in Comfort?
Comfort's Lintner feed.
Yeah, Lindner Feeds.
There's one in
or-
Lubbock, in Lukenbach. There's one in Fredericksburg. There's,
You can't really go in there and buy like a gallon.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, you can. They'll usually let you go. I usually get 5 gallons, but they just drain it off. I bet there's somebody in Quail.
Take your own jug, and then they're a whole lot more willing to sell.
We got some 20 gallon, we got some big.
Yeah, that's cool.
Molly.
Usually they'll fill
The
those.
laptops we want is a gallon.
Take your gallon with you and say, bake something and take with you and say, I just took these out of the oven. By the way, I'd like to buy a gallon of molasses. They get a lot nicer like that. Or take some good produce.
Some of them
There
are
used to be a restaurant in Bernie where I could go in with a bag of squash and stuff like that and get a free meal just by taking the fresh produce. Anybody that's ever grown squash, I had somebody in one of the little communities tell me is the only time we lock our houses and our cars is during squash season. Otherwise, neighbors are likely to fill it up. Somebody said, we're related, you have to take zucchini. Anyway, take some fresh produce and you'll be amazed how much nicer they get.
Some of that, their dispenser on that liquid molasses, the nozzle is so large they can't, they'd have to get a funnel and all, but if you take a 5-gallon bucket, there's no problem at all.
But I just
Some of them, the nozzles are quite large.
Yeah, well, that was the problem.
We'll take a 5-gallon bucket.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
buy 5
They
gallons
gave
of
us a
molasses.
30-gallon drum for free, so it was
Okay. And you can buy 5 gallons there cheaper than you can buy a gallon from a nursery, including us, because we pay a fortune for it. Yes, sir.
Does Medina sell molasses in like 50-gallon drums?
I don't know, they put it in gallon containers and quart containers. I don't know if they sell it in drums, but I wouldn't buy it from them. They're not a feed producer, and they're not, you ought to buy it from whoever they buy it from.
Who around Castroville, Honda?
Oh, go right there to Mummy's, the actual factory right there. They mix all their own foods just outside of Hondo there. What's his name? Jesus, Jesse Lopez, is the manager there.
What's the next one about urea? It seemed to me like the last time I bought it.
They do add
Seem
urea,
real
well,
higher.
it's for protein. They're doing
Yeah.
that more for feed, and I've never seen high enough I'd be afraid of it all. Remember how much you're diluting?
I was,
Yeah,
it was like
it's a few
14%.
percent, yeah,
Yeah.
it's good, but by the time you
Okay.
put that in 2 ounces to the gallon, you've got a piece of a percentage of urea.
And you've also got a great nitrogen source.
Oh, yes, as much as we don't talk about wanting, in that particular case, that's cheap nitrogen. Really is.
Bruce,
Yes.
or Bob, what would be the frequency on spraying those fields? I'm not haying or anything, just grazing. How often would you spray that?
In your lousy soil, you could do it once a month. Somebody that's got decent soil, 2-3 times a year,
That's for the molasses or compost?
Yeah.
either.
Either one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I want to know, how often you spray the compost tea.
Again, I use mine every month or 6 weeks because I'm always making something new, but I think I probably overdo it.
I do it once a week if we have any left over here at the
So
nursery.
he does it a lot,
Yeah.
more than I do.
pH, water,
Compost tea,
What pH is my water?
well, no.
I buy from a guy named
you
Skylar
mentioned
Kep.
that it has
Kep
an
Liquid
effect
Feeds,
of,
K-O-E-P-P.
bringing the
P-
bacteria
yes.
to life.
Most of us have neutral to slightly alkali
His business
waters
is called
here.
Kep
Most of the
Liquid
put-to-sleep teas are very low in pH.
Ours is
Feeds. He is on Hunter Road.
That's fine.
I have no
That's
idea
a
where
little
that is.
above,
I mailed him a check
neutral.
yesterday, so I
Yeah. That's great, that's what I have. And
called
mine's
him.
about 8.
I have no idea. He's a nice guy.
Yes.
What if you use distilled water, would it keep the microbes from dying?
No, as a matter of fact, that's an interesting question.
Got that?
It's not as good. They need the minerals and they need the natural stuff in the water. And Elaine actually did some studies with completely distilled water. They don't have any like it.
You break the
Well,
cactus
not
loose on the
dangerous, but
ground,
it just doesn't.
and then just spray it with concentrated molasses, it just makes it rot so fast, it doesn't have nitrogen.
Well, again, the chlorine will come out.
Bruce and I will stay here and answer questions. Those of y'all that need to go, you're not embarrassing us if you get up and leave. We thank you very much for coming, and we'll do something fun again next week. I don't even know what the next seminar is. but,